The message came through the Deep Space Monitoring Station on Europa. At first, the technicians thought it was just more background noise, the kind that filled the vast emptiness between stars. But this was different. This had patterns. This had meaning. Jack Wilson was on duty that night, his eyes heavy after 12 hours of watching screens that rarely showed anything interesting. When the alert pinged, he almost dismissed it. The 20th false alarm that week, probably. But then he heard the sound. It was like nothing humans had ever received before. A series of musical tones that somehow carried grief and desperation across the gulf of space. "You need to hear this," Jack called to his supervisor, Tom. Within an hour, the message was being analyzed by the best codebreakers on Earth. Within 3, they had their first translation. "Help us. They are killing everyone. Please, if anyone hears this, help us." The United Earth government called an emergency session. Representatives from all nations gathered in the Grand Hall in Geneva, their faces grim as they watched the decoded transmission. Now there were images to go with the sounds. A species of tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that seemed to glow from within. The Luminary, they called themselves, and they were being slaughtered by shadowy figures with too many limbs. "They've been broadcasting this message for over 50 years, explained Director Lane of the Space Communications Authority. "It's only now reaching us because they're over 40 light years away." "So we're too late," said the representative from Brazil. "They're probably all dead already." "Maybe not." Director Lane pointed to new data streaming in. "We're still receiving fresh transmissions. Something about their technology allows faster communication than we thought possible. Based on our analysis, these events are happening right now." The debate raged for days. Earth had only recently united after centuries of war. Their space fleet was modest, built for exploration and defense, not war across the stars. And yet, on the UES Defiant, Captain David Turner received the transmission directly as his ship patrolled the outer solar system. His communications officer, Lisa Green, was the first to spot the hidden data stream within the main message. "Captain, there's more here. Visual records." When Turner saw the footage, his blood ran cold. The Void Dominion, as the Luminary called them, weren't just conquerors. They were exterminators. They harvested planets of resources and life with mechanical efficiency. The images showed luminary cities being reduced to ash, their people rounded up and processed like cattle. "Send this to Earth immediately," Turner ordered, his voice tight. "They need to see what we're dealing with." Back on Earth, the new evidence shifted the debate. Humanity had dark chapters in its own history: genocide, slavery, war. They recognized the horrors being inflicted on the Luminary, because humans had once inflicted similar horrors on each other. "We swore never again after the last war," said the African Union representative. "Does that promise stop at the edge of our atmosphere?" The vote was called. Each nation had one voice. The people of Earth extend their hand to the Luminary people. The resolution read, "We will answer their call." The decision wasn't unanimous. Some nations abstained, worried about the risk. But enough agreed. Earth would help. Within days, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled began preparations for departure. Ships were retrofitted for combat. Volunteers lined up around the block at recruitment centers. Scientists worked around the clock adapting technology for interstellar war. Captain Turner and the Defiant were assigned as the vanguard. As his ship prepared to make the jump through the newly developed warp gate, he addressed his crew. "We go not just to save the Luminary, but to stand for something greater. If we turn away now, we deny everything that makes us human." They begged for help, and we will answer. The Defiant vanished in a flash of light, leading humanity into its first interstellar war. Behind it, the rest of the fleet prepared to follow. The Void Dominion had no idea what was coming for them. The journey took 3 weeks by Earth time. 3 weeks of preparation, training, and wondering what awaited them. The UES Defiant emerged from warp space with sensors at full alert, weapons charged, and every crew member at their station. What they found was worse than their darkest expectations. The Luminary home system was a graveyard. Broken ships drifted through space. Planets showed enormous scars visible even from orbit. And through it all moved the dark ships of the Void Dominion, like sharks circling wounded prey. "My God," whispered Commander Anna West as she stared at the viewscreen. "They're still hunting survivors." Captain Turner's face was grim. "Tactical, how many enemy ships are we looking at?" "At least 200, sir," replied Tactical Officer Mike Rivera. "Maybe more behind the third planet." Turner nodded. They had expected superior numbers. That's why the rest of the fleet was one day behind them. The Defiant was here to assess the situation and make first contact with any surviving luminary. "Take us in quietly," Turner ordered. "Use the debris field for cover." The Defiant slipped through the wreckage of what had once been a thriving civilization. Scans picked up a small pocket of energy readings on the second moon of the main planet. Life signs, but faint. "There," Communications Officer Lisa Green pointed. "I'm picking up a weak transmission. Same signature as the distress call." They landed in what had once been a beautiful crystal city. Now it was mostly rubble. A small group of luminari emerged from underground shelters, their skin barely glowing now, dimmed by fear and hardship. Their leader approached cautiously. He was tall, with 4 arms and skin that shifted between blue and green. "I am Torin," he said, his translator device making his musical speech understandable. You came. After all this time, someone finally came." Commander West stepped forward as the diplomatic officer. "We are from Earth. We received your message, and we're here to help." Torin's large eyes widened. "But you are so small. So few. The Void will destroy you as they destroyed us." More human ships began appearing in the system behind them. One by one at first, then dozens. The rest of the vanguard had arrived. "We brought friends," Captain Turner said with a slight smile. Inside a secure bunker, Torin showed them what remained of the Luminary government and their historical records. The Luminary were a peaceful species who had developed art, music, and science to remarkable levels. But they had never developed weapons beyond those needed for hunting or sport. "We tried to reason with the Void Dominion," explained Torin. "We offered to share our world, our resources. They took that as weakness." Admiral Mary Ross, commander of the human fleet, studied the Luminaries' records of Dominion tactics. "They rely on overwhelming force and fear," she noted, "not strategy. Their ships are bigger, but their technology isn't necessarily better," added Chief Engineer Paul Harris. "They just have more of everything." As they planned their defense, perimeter alarms suddenly blared. A Void Dominion patrol had detected the human ships and was moving in to investigate. "They will show no mercy," Torin warned. "They never do." Captain Turner returned to the Defiant. "Then they're about to learn a hard lesson about humanity," he said grimly. 3 massive Dominion ships, dark and spiny like deep-sea predators, approached the moon. They dwarfed the human vessels, each one 3 times the size of Earth's largest ship. "All hands to battle stations," Turner ordered. "Let's show them how humans fight." The Dominion opened fire without warning or communication, massive energy beams slicing toward the human ships. But the humans had been ready. The Defiant and 2 other ships rolled in perfect formation, evading the slow but powerful weapons. Then the humans fired back. Precision, coordination, tactics, everything the Dominion lacked. The first alien ship exploded in a blinding flash as human missiles found a weakness in its shields. The battle for the Luminary had begun, and the Void Dominion was about to discover they had awakened something far more dangerous than they could imagine. The remains of the Void Dominion patrol drifted silently through space. 2 destroyers completely destroyed, 1 capital ship limping away with heavy damage. The human fleet had lost only 3 small fighters. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Captain Turner watched the retreating enemy ship with narrow eyes. "Let it go," he ordered when his weapons officer asked for permission to finish it off. "Let it tell the others what happened here." Admiral Ross called for a fleet-wide strategy meeting. The initial skirmish had proven something important. Human ships were more agile and their weapons more precise. What they lacked in size, they made up for in skill. "We can't match them ship for ship," Admiral Ross told the gathered captains. "But we don't need to. The Dominion relies on brute force. We'll use our heads." Intelligence Officer Ben Taylor presented his analysis of the enemy's weaknesses. Their communications are slow. Their formations are rigid. And they have no concept of sacrificing one part to save the whole. The plan formed quickly. Hit and run attacks. Quick strikes at supply lines. Never engage the full might of the Dominion fleet. Bleed them slowly until they were weak enough for a killing blow. Captain Turner and the Defiant were chosen to lead the first major operation, a raid deep into enemy territory, to destroy a key refueling station. 5 human ships slipped through the Dominion's patrol routes, using a technique that Earth submarine captains had perfected centuries ago. Silent running, minimal power, hiding in the electromagnetic shadow of larger objects. "It's like they never considered someone might sneak up on them," whispered Navigator Jane Wilson as they glided past a Dominion sensor array without being detected. The refueling station orbited a captured luminary mining world. It was massive, feeding the endless appetite of the Dominion war machine, and it was poorly defended. "They're arrogant," said Tactical Officer Rivera. "They don't believe anyone would dare attack them here." The human ships struck like lightning. Precision missiles targeted fuel storage tanks. Laser cannons cut through defense systems. Fighters deployed to handle any response. The station erupted in a chain of explosions that lit up the sky of the mining planet below. The few Dominion ships in orbit were caught completely unprepared. "Target their engines," Turner ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. I want prisoners." For the first time, humans captured live members of the Void Dominion. They were tall, insectoid creatures with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected light like oil on water. Their exoskeletons were dark gray, almost black. Dr. Emily Reed, the fleet's chief xenobiologist, studied the captives with fascination. "Their biology is efficient but specialized," she reported. "They're adapted for specific tasks, some for fighting, some for working, some for thinking, almost like ants or bees." This was a crucial discovery. The captured Dominion soldiers couldn't think for themselves when cut off from their commanders. They became confused, disorganized. Meanwhile, on Earth, scientists worked day and night analyzing the data sent back by the fleet. They studied captured Dominion technology, looking for weaknesses they could exploit. The Luminary, too, provided valuable help. Torin and a group of their scientists joined the human ships, bringing their advanced understanding of physics and energy systems. "Your weapons are crude but effective," Torin told Engineer Harris. "With our knowledge of particle physics, we can make them much stronger." The first hybrid human luminary weapon was tested against a Dominion outpost. The result was beyond anyone's expectations. The entire facility was vaporized in seconds. Word of the human victory spread through the galaxy. Other species that had been conquered or threatened by the Dominion began to watch with interest. Hope, long extinguished, began to flicker again. But the Council of 8, the mysterious leaders of the Void Dominion, had finally taken notice of the human threat. They sent a message across their vast empire. Abandon all other campaigns. Focus everything on crushing these humans. The real war was about to begin. The news reached Earth 3 weeks after the Defiant's successful raid. Massive Void Dominion fleets were on the move, hundreds of ships strong. And they weren't heading toward luminary space anymore. They were coming for humanity. The United Earth government declared a state of emergency. What had begun as a rescue mission had now become a fight for survival. "They see us as the primary threat now," Admiral Ross informed the Earth Defense Council via hologram. Her face was tired but determined. "Our success has made us their target." President Laura Graham stood at the window of her office, looking out at the busy streets of Geneva. People going about their lives, unaware of the danger rushing toward them from the stars. "How long do we have?" she asked. 2 months, maybe 3 before they reach our outer colonies, Admiral Ross replied. "We've set up early warning systems, but their numbers are overwhelming." Across Earth and its colonies, war production ramped up to levels not seen in generations. Factories that once made cars now built fighters. Shipyards worked around the clock. Scientists focused entirely on military research. On Mars colony, Dr. Marcus Wilson led a team studying the biological samples from the captured Dominion soldiers. What they discovered was revolutionary. Their nervous systems operate on a different frequency than ours, he explained to Captain Turner during a secure transmission. They use something like electromagnetic signals to communicate with each other and their ships. If we can disrupt those signals. The first prototype disruptor was ready just in time. The outer colony on Europa was the first to face a Dominion attack. 3 massive ships appeared in orbit, preparing to bombard the human settlement. Governor Frank Miller watched from the colony's command center as the massive ships loomed overhead. The colony's defenses were minimal. They had no chance against such firepower. Then the UES Valiant, sister ship to the Defiant, dropped out of warp space directly behind the Dominion vessels. It was smaller than any of the enemy ships, but it carried Dr. Wilson's new weapon. "Disruptor at full charge," reported the Valiant's weapons officer. "Fire," ordered its captain. No explosion, no visible beam. Just a pulse of energy that washed over the Dominion ships. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then all 3 enemy vessels began to drift. Inside, chaos erupted as the Dominion soldiers lost their connection to each other and their commanders. Some went mad. Others fell unconscious. None could operate their ships. The Valiant's Marines boarded the helpless vessels, capturing them intact. It was humanity's first major defensive victory. Back in luminary space, Captain Turner and the Defiant received new orders. They were to make contact with other species who had suffered under Dominion rule, potential allies in the expanding war. The Ataraxians, reptilian beings with advanced shield technology, were the first to join. Then came the Meridian Collective, a hive mind species with incredible computing power. Each brought unique strengths to the alliance. But the Void Dominion's resources seemed endless. For every ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. For every world liberated, 2 more fell under attack. On Neptune's research outpost, Dr. Emily Reed was working on understanding Dominion technology when the attack came without warning. Massive ships appeared, jamming all communications. Neptune had no military presence, no defenses. The outpost was a scientific facility with 5,000 researchers and their families. The bombardment lasted just 20 minutes. When it was over, nothing remained but floating debris. When word reached Earth, something changed in humanity's approach to the war. The gloves came off. The rules of engagement were revised. This was no longer just about helping the luminary or defending human territory. This was about survival. This was about justice. This was now total war. The destruction of Neptune's research outpost changed everything. Memorial services were held across Earth and its colonies. 5,000 names were read aloud, faces displayed on screens in city squares. Scientists, children, people who had never picked up a weapon. Captain Turner stood silently as the names of his former colleagues echoed through the Defiant's main hall. Dr. Reed had been his friend at the academy. Her son had just turned 6. The Dominion made a mistake, Admiral Ross told the gathered fleet commanders the next day. They thought they would break our spirit. Instead, they united us like nothing before. Earth's military now operated with a single purpose. All resources, all technology, all effort turned toward one goal: defeating the Void Dominion. Not just pushing them back, but ending their threat forever. Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening across Dominion-controlled space. Inspired by humanity's resistance, other subjugated species began to rebel. The first uprising came from the Selenites, crystal-based beings who had been enslaved for their mining abilities. When their Dominion overseers were distracted by the human conflict, they sabotaged the mining equipment and escaped to the mountains. Then the Kirathi, 4 armed engineers who had been forced to build Dominion ships, began secretly sabotaging the vessels they constructed. Word spread from system to system through hidden channels. Earth was fighting back. Earth was winning. There was hope. Commander Anna West led a special team on a mission to contact these resistance movements. Their ship, disguised as a Dominion cargo vessel, visited planet after planet, providing weapons, training, and communication devices. "We don't need you to be soldiers," she told a group of Paxian rebels hiding in cave networks. "We need you to be disruptors. Cut their supply lines. Sabotage their equipment. Make them fight a war on all fronts." On the Luminary homeworld, now a forward base for human operations, Torin and his scientists worked with Engineer Harris on something revolutionary: a translation of ancient luminary energy manipulation principles into practical human technology. "Your ancestors understood things about the fabric of space that we're only beginning to grasp," Harris said as he studied the glowing diagrams. "Knowledge without purpose is just information," Torin replied. "You humans have given our knowledge purpose again." The result was a new propulsion system that allowed ships to move faster than anything the Dominion had. Human vessels could now appear, strike, and vanish before the enemy could properly respond. Admiral Ross used this advantage to create the first multi-species battle group in galactic history. Human ships formed the core, with Ataraxian defenders, Meridian tactical coordinators, and even some luminary science vessels. The Council of Eight, the mysterious leaders of the Void Dominion, held an emergency meeting in their hidden fortress. For the first time in their 1,000-year rule, they faced a serious threat. "These humans are unlike any species we have encountered," said First Counselor Drac, his compound eyes reflecting the battle recordings playing before them. "They fight with both emotion and logic. They adapt constantly. And worst of all, they inspire others." "They are still just animals," replied Second Counselor Morv. "We have culled countless worlds. These will be no different." But not all the council agreed. Fifth Counselor Elec had studied the humans more closely than the others. "They have something we've never faced before," she warned. "They call it hope, and they're giving it to others." The council's unity, absolute for centuries, began to crack. As if sensing this weakness, Admiral Ross launched Operation Sundering. Simultaneous attacks on 7 key Dominion command nodes. The goal wasn't to destroy them, but to capture them intact and gain access to the Dominion's central communication network. Leading the most critical strike was Captain Turner and the Defiant, targeting the primary relay station connecting the Council to their vast armada. The war was entering its most dangerous phase, and humanity was bringing the fight directly to the enemy's heart. Operation Sundering began with a deception. 7 human fleets approached 7 Dominion command nodes openly, drawing the enemy's attention and firepower. Meanwhile, the real attack teams slipped in through blind spots in the Dominion's sensor networks. Captain Turner and the Defiant led the most crucial mission. Their target was the central relay station that connected the Council of Eight to their vast fleet. If they could capture it intact, they could potentially control, or at least disrupt, the entire Dominion war machine. "Cloak engaged," reported Navigator Wilson as the Defiant vanished from all detection systems. The technology, developed by combining human stealth systems with luminary light-bending principles, was still experimental. It would only work for 30 minutes before needing to recharge. "That should be enough time," Turner said. "If we're not in position by then, we've already failed." The massive relay station orbited a dead world, stripped of resources long ago by the Dominion. It resembled a giant metal spider, with long appendages stretching out to capture and relay signals across the Empire. As the diversionary battles raged elsewhere, the Defiant slipped silently into the station's docking bay. Turner led the boarding team himself, along with Tactical Officer Rivera, and 20 of their best soldiers. "Remember," Turner told them as they prepared to breach the station, "We need the control center intact. Set weapons to stun whenever possible." They moved through the station like ghosts, using Dr. Wilson's disruptor technology to confuse the Dominion soldiers they encountered. Most fell without firing a shot, their neural systems temporarily scrambled. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Graham addressed the United Planets Assembly. Behind her stood representatives from every allied species: Luminary, Ataraxian, Meridian, and a dozen others. "Today, we launch Project Thunderbolt," she announced. "Not just a weapon, but a promise. The Dominion's reign of terror across this galaxy ends now." Project Thunderbolt was humanity's greatest technological achievement. Building on the captured Dominion technology and ancient luminary science, Earth's engineers had created a network of satellites that could generate a targeted energy wave. This wave would disrupt the specific frequency used by Dominion neural systems, rendering their entire species temporarily helpless without harming other life forms. The only problem was range. The satellites needed to be deployed directly into Dominion territory, at the heart of their defenses. On the relay station, Captain Turner's team reached the control center. The battle was brief but intense. Despite their orders to capture when possible, they lost 3 soldiers before securing the room. Station control established. Turner reported back to Admiral Ross, "Uploading the override codes now." With access to the relay station, human technicians could now control what information flowed to and from the Council of 8. False orders could be sent. Real ones could be blocked. First, they broadcast the truth to every Dominion ship and outpost. Images of the Council's atrocities, evidence of their lies, and offers of amnesty to any who surrendered. The effect was immediate. Across the galaxy, Dominion ships began powering down weapons. Colony administrators opened communications with resistance fighters. The empire that had ruled through fear and deception for centuries began to crumble in hours. But the Council of 8 would not surrender so easily. They activated emergency protocols, cutting themselves off from the compromised network. Then they ordered their personal guard fleet, the largest and most advanced in their arsenal, to destroy Earth once and for all. 100 massive dreadnoughts, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent, set course for the solar system. Admiral Ross received the intelligence with grim determination. "They're coming with everything they have left," she told the combined fleet commanders. "Exactly as we planned." Project Thunderbolt was ready. The trap was set. All they needed was to bring the Council's fleet within range. The final battle for the fate of Earth and the galaxy was about to begin. They begged for help. Humanity answered with total war. Part 7. Victory and Aftermath. The Council's massive fleet entered the solar system like a storm of metal and energy. 100 dreadnoughts, each the size of a small moon, moved in perfect formation toward Earth. Their weapons could reduce the blue planet to ash in minutes. What they found waiting for them was not what they expected. There was no panicked evacuation, no desperate last stand of ships. Instead, there was Admiral Ross's voice broadcasting on all frequencies. To the approaching Dominion fleet, "You have one chance to power down your weapons and surrender. There will not be a second warning." From the flagship of the Dominion Armada, First Counselor Drac laughed. The humans had fought well, but this was the end. He gave the order to fire. Nothing happened. Throughout the Dominion fleet, weapon systems failed to respond. Navigation controls locked. Life support systems remained operational, but nothing else. "What is happening?" Drac demanded. The answer came in the form of thousands of small satellites that had been hidden in the debris field of the asteroid belt. They activated simultaneously, creating a web of energy that enveloped the entire Dominion fleet. Project Thunderbolt was not just a weapon. It was a cage. Captain Turner and the Defiant approached the Dominion flagship, leading a small fleet of boarding craft. With the enemy ships paralyzed, taking control was almost too easy. "Bridge secured," Turner reported as his team surrounded the Council of 8. The mysterious leaders, seeing their defeat, finally showed an emotion the humans recognized. Fear. "What will you do with us?" asked Drac, his compound eyes fixed on Turner. "Justice," Turner replied simply. "For Neptune. For the Luminary. For every world you've destroyed." Across the galaxy, the news spread. The Council had fallen. The Dominion fleet was captured. The empire that had terrorized countless species for centuries had been defeated in less than one Earth year. On the Luminary homeworld, Torin watched the sky change color as the planet began to heal itself. The Luminary were natural terraformers, and with the Dominion gone, they could finally restore their world. "We would have been extinct without your help," he told Admiral Ross during the victory celebration. "We called for aid, expecting nothing. You gave us everything." Ross looked out at the gathering. Humans mingled with Luminary, Ataraxians, and representatives from dozens of other species. "We learned long ago that standing by while others suffer only ensures that suffering will eventually reach you too." Back on Earth, parades welcomed home the returning heroes. Captain Turner and his crew received the highest honors the United Human Government could bestow. But Turner found the celebrations hollow. Too many had died. Dr. Reed, the Neptune colonists, his own crew members. President Graham recognized this in his eyes when she presented his medal. "The cost was high," she said privately. "But remember what we prevented. The extinction of multiple species, including potentially our own." 6 months after the Council's defeat, representatives from all known intelligent species gathered on a neutral world to form the first Galactic Council. Humanity, despite being one of the newer spacefaring races, was given a seat of honor for their role in defeating the Dominion. Some Dominion worlds had surrendered instantly when their leaders fell. Others fought on briefly before realizing the futility. Their species was not destroyed. Humans had learned from history that genocidal vengeance only creates new cycles of hatred. Instead, they were integrated into the new galactic community, closely monitored but given a path to redemption. As for the Defiant, it received a new mission: exploration, not war. Captain Turner requested to keep his command, despite offers of promotion. "We answered a call for help and found ourselves in a war," he told his crew as they prepared to venture into uncharted space. "Now let's see what we find when we go in peace." Far beyond the known galaxy, other intelligences had observed the conflict with great interest. Humanity had proven itself to be something rare. A species with both the will to fight when necessary and the wisdom to seek peace when possible. They would be watching humanity's progress very carefully indeed. The 5 alien ambassadors stood in rigid formation as their shuttle docked with Earth's orbital station. Each represented one of the most powerful civilizations in the known galaxy, and none had expected to be summoned to such a backwater system. Commander Thrax adjusted his ceremonial armor, the deep blue plates reflecting the station's lights. As the senior representative of the Valori Empire, he felt it was beneath him to visit such a primitive world. The humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago, barely a blink in galactic terms. "Remind me why we bothered coming," muttered Admiral Quill, her feathered crest rising in irritation. The Syrian Republic had better things to do than welcome newcomers. "Protocol demands it," replied High Captain Knox, his gray skin glistening with natural oils. The Drillon Collective always followed proper procedures, no matter how tedious. All new spacefaring species must be formally assessed. Fleet Marshal Vex clicked his mandibles in what passed for a laugh among the Ouroboran hierarchy. Assessment is a polite word for judgment. We decide if they deserve a place at the table. War Leader Zol, the hulking representative of the Canthi Dominion, simply grunted, his species preferred actions to words. The airlock hissed open, revealing a delegation of humans in crisp blue uniforms. Their leader, a tall woman with dark skin and short gray hair, stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth Station 1. I am General Elena Davis of the United Earth Defense Force. On behalf of humanity, I welcome the Galactic Conclave." Thrax performed the formal greeting with minimal effort. "The Five Powers acknowledge your welcome. We have come to evaluate your civilization's readiness for expanded interstellar relations." General Davis smiled. "We look forward to demonstrating our capabilities. Please, follow me to the conference room, where refreshments await." As they walked through the station corridors, the aliens exchanged silent messages through their neural implants. "Primitive construction," Vex noted. "Look at these metal walls. My ship's hull is 50 times stronger. Their artificial gravity is uneven." Quill added, "I can feel the fluctuations. Sloppy engineering." Knox was more diplomatic. "They are young. Remember our own early days in space." In the conference room, holographic displays showed Earth's solar system and the modest human fleet protecting it. General Davis began a presentation about human history and achievements, but the aliens paid little attention. Thrax interrupted, "General, while your history lesson is surely fascinating, we came to evaluate your military capabilities. The Five Powers maintain peace through strength. To join the galactic community, you must demonstrate your ability to contribute to collective security." Davis paused, her expression calm despite the rudeness. "Of course, Commander. What would you like to know?" War Leader Zol spoke for the first time, his deep voice rumbling. "Show us your best warship." The aliens didn't try to hide their smirks as Davis displayed a hologram of Earth's flagship. "The UES Thunderchild," she said, "our most advanced vessel." Admiral Quill scoffed. "That tiny thing. My personal yacht has more firepower." The Syrian battle cruiser Eternal Flame could destroy 50 such vessels without depleting its primary energy reserves, Thrax added. Knox studied the hologram more carefully. "Interesting design choices, though clearly limited by your technology." Vex didn't bother with politeness. "Is this truly the best Earth can offer? Perhaps we should reconsider your application for Conclave membership." The human officials exchanged glances, but Davis maintained her professional demeanor. "Perhaps seeing is believing," she suggested. "Would the esteemed representatives care to tour the Thunderchild? It's currently docked at this station." Zol nodded. "Yes. We will inspect this vessel." "Excellent," Davis replied, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Captain James Harrison will be delighted to show you everything." As they left the conference room, none of the aliens noticed the subtle communication between the human officials, nor did they catch the gleam of anticipation in General Davis's eyes. Captain James Harrison waited at the docking tube as the 5 alien representatives approached, led by General Davis. He stood tall in his navy blue uniform, medals glinting under the bright lights. At 45, Harrison had the weathered look of someone who had seen his share of battles. "Representatives, "This is Captain Harrison of the UES Thunderchild," General Davis said, gesturing toward him. Harrison gave a crisp salute. "Welcome aboard. It's an honor to host members of the Galactic Conclave." Commander Thrax barely acknowledged the greeting. "Let us proceed with this inspection. We have many duties awaiting our return." "Of course," Harrison replied smoothly. "Please follow me." As they entered the ship, Admiral Quill immediately began scanning the interior with a small device. "Is there a problem, Admiral?" Harrison asked. "Just confirming your atmospheric composition," she said. "Standard procedure." Harrison nodded but exchanged a quick glance with General Davis. They both knew she was actually measuring the ship's energy outputs. "The Thunderchild is our newest vessel," Harrison explained as they walked through spotless corridors. "Commissioned just 6 months ago." "How many weapon systems?" War Leader Zoll demanded bluntly. "That depends on how you count them," Harrison replied. "We prefer integrated defense solutions rather than isolated weapons platforms." Fleet Marshal Vex clicked his mandibles. Typical evasive answer from a primitive species. Harrison stopped walking and turned to face the aliens. His voice remained perfectly calm, but there was a new edge to it. "Representatives, I understand you're accustomed to dealing with newly spacefaring races that bow to your authority. Humanity isn't one of them. If you'd prefer to end this tour now, we can return to the station." The aliens exchanged surprised looks. High Captain Knox broke the tense silence. "Please continue, Captain. We meant no offense." Harrison led them to the bridge, a spacious command center with stations arranged in concentric circles around a central holographic display. Crew members worked quietly at their posts, occasionally glancing at the visitors. "This is where we coordinate all ship functions," Harrison explained. "Unlike your vessels, which I understand operate with strict hierarchical command structures, we use a distributed decision-making model supported by our AI systems." "You allow artificial intelligence on your warships?" Thrax asked, genuine shock in his voice. "Of course," Harrison replied. "Why wouldn't we?" The 5 aliens shifted uncomfortably. Every spacefaring civilization in the Conclave had strict prohibitions against military AI after the machine wars 3 centuries ago. "That is unusual," Knox said carefully. Harrison smiled. "Perhaps you'd like to see our engine room next. Or would you prefer the weapons control center?" "Weapons," all 5 aliens said almost in unison. As they rode the gravity lift down to the lower decks, Commander Thrax couldn't contain himself any longer. "Captain Harrison, while we appreciate this tour, we've seen nothing that impresses us. The Valori Empire has star destroyers that could vaporize this vessel in seconds. The Syrian Republic's quantum phase cannons would slice through your hull like paper," added Admiral Quill. "Ouroboran warships carry planet-killer missiles," said Vex. "Cathy battle cruisers are 3 times this size," rumbled Zoll. Harrison listened patiently to their boasting. When they finished, he simply said, "Would you like to see what the Thunderchild can actually do?" "What do you mean?" asked Knox. "We're scheduled for combat exercises today. With General Davis' permission, I invite you to observe from the command deck." Davis nodded. "Authorized." Harrison touched his communication badge. "Bridge, this is the captain. Prepare for demonstration protocol Echo 7. We have guests who need convincing." For the first time since their arrival, the aliens looked uncertain as Harrison led them toward the combat control center, his confident smile never wavering. The combat control center of the Thunderchild hummed with quiet activity as Captain Harrison led the 5 alien representatives inside. Unlike the spacious bridge, this room was compact, with dark walls covered in displays showing various weapon systems and tactical data. "Please take your positions behind the safety line," Harrison instructed, pointing to a glowing blue stripe on the floor. "The demonstration will begin shortly." The aliens watched as human officers took their stations. There were no bulky control panels or physical switches, just floating holographic interfaces that followed the crew's movements. "Computer, Initiate demonstration protocol Echo 7. Harrison commanded. A pleasant female voice responded. Protocol Echo 7 initiated. Combat simulation engaging in 30 seconds. Admiral Quill leaned toward Commander Thrax. Their computer systems seem adequate, but nothing special. Thrax nodded. Primitive voice commands. The Valori abandoned such inefficient interfaces centuries ago. Harrison overheard but said nothing, merely smiling as a large holographic display activated in the center of the room, showing the space around the Thunderchild. 6 red dots appeared at different coordinates. Those represent drone attackers, Harrison explained. For this demonstration, they're programmed with combat algorithms based on various Conclave military tactics. Hi, Captain, Knox's eyes widened. How did you access Conclave military data? Harrison shrugged. We observe. We learn. Before Knox could respond, the computer announced, simulation beginning now. The red dots suddenly accelerated toward the Thunderchild from multiple directions. No evasive maneuvers. Fleet Marshal Vex asked, his mandibles twitching with amusement. Your ship will be surrounded. Watch, Harrison said simply. The tactical display shifted, showing the Thunderchild's hull transforming. Plates realigned, the entire surface rippling like liquid metal before settling into a new configuration with dozens of small protrusions now visible. What is that? War Leader Zoll demanded. Adaptive Defense Grid, Harrison replied. The ship's skin can reconfigure based on threat assessment. As the drones approached firing range, the Thunderchild pulsed once, emitting a sphere of blue energy that expanded outward. When it touched the first drone, the red dot flickered and went dark. One down, Harrison noted casually. Admiral Quill stepped forward, her feathers bristling. That was a phase shift disruption field. That's Syrian technology. No, Harrison corrected. It's human technology. We discovered the principles independently. The remaining drones changed course, adopting a formation the aliens recognized as a classic Valori attack pattern. The Thunderchild responded by firing what looked like lightning bolts from different points on its hull, striking 3 drones simultaneously. Commander Thrax hissed in surprise. Those are quantum-entangled projectiles. How did you? Again, our own development, Harrison interrupted. Though I'm told the principles are similar to Valori weapons, our implementation is quite different. The final 2 drones separated, one accelerating to incredible speed, while the other vanished from sensors completely. Ah, Ouroboran stealth technology combined with Canthe speed drives, Harrison remarked, as if commenting on the weather. Computer, initiate countermeasures. The Thunderchild's hull glowed bright for a moment before releasing a pulse of golden particles that spread outward like a mist. The invisible drone suddenly reappeared, its stealth systems neutralized. Both remaining drones were quickly dispatched by precision energy beams. Simulation complete. All threats neutralized, the computer announced. Time elapsed, 17.4 seconds. The 5 aliens stood in stunned silence. That's impossible, Knox finally said. You've combined technologies that shouldn't be compatible. Your gravity weapons, they're similar to Drellun designs, Vex added, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. Harrison nodded. We found that combining approaches yields better results than specializing. The Thunderchild incorporates elements inspired by various technologies we've observed throughout the galaxy, all enhanced and integrated in ways unique to humanity. And this is your most advanced vessel? Zoll asked. Harrison exchanged a glance with General Davis before answering. Actually, no. The Thunderchild is a mid-tier vessel in our fleet. Would you like to know about our actual flagship? The aliens looked at each other, their earlier confidence completely evaporated, replaced by something humans had rarely seen in Conclave representatives before. Perhaps we should continue this tour in a more practical setting, Captain Harrison suggested, noting the aliens' stunned expressions. Follow me to the observation deck. The group silently followed Harrison through corridors that seemed to shift subtly as they walked. The aliens exchanged nervous glances. "Is your ship reconfiguring itself?" High Captain Knox finally asked, placing a webbed hand on a wall that had just finished changing texture. "Good eye," Harrison replied. "The Thunderchild constantly optimizes its internal layout based on mission parameters and crew movements. We've reduced transit times by 43% compared to static designs." The observation deck offered a panoramic view of Earth below and the vast darkness of space beyond. Large view screens displayed various ship systems and exterior camera feeds. "Now," Harrison said, "let's demonstrate some real capabilities. Computer, activate live fire exercise Beta 9. "Acknowledged," replied the ship's eye. "Deploying combat drones." Through the massive windows, the aliens watched as 12 small objects launched from the Thunderchild's lower base. These drones, unlike the simulated ones from earlier, were physical machines that quickly formed a complex three-dimensional formation 2 kilometers away. "These drones are programmed with combat tactics from your various civilizations," Harrison explained. "They're armed with actual weapons, though at reduced power for safety." Commander Thrax narrowed his eyes. "You have copies of our weapons." "We have our versions of similar technology," Harrison corrected. "Remember, convergent evolution applies to technology too." Admiral Quill's feathers flattened against her head, a sign of growing concern. "Those drones are forming a Syrian hive mind attack pattern. That's classified military information." Harrison shrugged. "As I said before, we observe and learn." "Beginning attack sequence," announced the ship's eye. The drones suddenly accelerated toward the Thunderchild, weapons firing. Energy beams, missile projectiles, and what looked like disruptor fields all headed toward the vessel simultaneously. "No evasive action?" Fleet Marshal Vex asked, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "Unnecessary," Harrison replied calmly. As the attacks reached the ship, something remarkable happened. The hull itself seemed to absorb the energy weapons, glowing briefly where they hit. The missiles simply disappeared a meter from impact, vanishing into what looked like tiny ripples in space. The disruptor fields bounced back toward the drones that had launched them. "What you're seeing is our metamaterial hull in action," Harrison explained. "It can absorb, redirect, or neutralize most forms of attack." War Leader Zoll grunted in disbelief. "No defense is perfect." "Of course not," Harrison agreed. "That's why we have multiple layers. Computer, demonstrate counter-offensive capabilities." The Thunderchild's response was immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of precision beams shot out simultaneously, each tracking a different drone despite their evasive maneuvers. Within seconds, half the drones were disabled. "Our targeting system can track and engage up to 200 separate threats simultaneously," Harrison said. "Each weapon operates independently, but coordinates with the others for maximum efficiency." The remaining drones attempted to escape, accelerating to incredible speeds. The Thunderchild pivoted smoothly and gave chase. "Now about our propulsion system," Harrison said with a slight smile. The stars outside blurred as the ship accelerated. In mere seconds, they had caught up to the fleeing drones. "That's impossible," Knox whispered. "Your acceleration should have crushed everyone aboard." "Inertial dampening fields," Harrison explained. "Combined with our gravity manipulation technology, we can achieve speeds that would be difficult for conventional designs." The final drones were quickly neutralized. As the Thunderchild returned to its original position, the 5 aliens stood in shocked silence. "This demonstration used approximately 15% of our combat capabilities," Harrison said. "The Thunderchild can operate at significantly higher capacity when necessary." "And you say this is only a mid-tier vessel?" Admiral Quill asked, her voice barely audible. Harrison nodded. "Our flagship, the UES Prometheus, carries experimental systems I'm not authorized to discuss, but it makes the Thunderchild look like a transport shuttle by comparison." The aliens exchanged worried glances. What they had just witnessed contradicted everything they thought they knew about human technology and military capability. And if this was indeed only the beginning of what humanity could do. Fleet Marshal Vex summed up their collective thought with a simple statement. We have gravely underestimated you. After the demonstration, Captain Harrison excused himself to attend to ship duties, leaving the 5 alien representatives in a private conference room. General Davis had arranged this courtesy, a chance for them to discuss their impressions without human presence. The moment the door closed, their diplomatic facades crumbled. This is catastrophic. Commander Thrax slammed his fist on the table. His normally composed demeanor had vanished. Humans shouldn't have this level of technology. It took the Velori 3,000 years to develop gravitational weapons, and they've mastered them in less than a century. Admiral Quill paced nervously, her feathers puffed in agitation. They've somehow integrated systems that should be incompatible. Did you see their defensive grid? It combines Syrian phase technology with Ouroboran adaptive materials. That shouldn't be possible. More concerning is what they haven't shown us, High Captain Knox said quietly. His gray skin had paled to an ashen white. If this mid-tier vessel possesses such capabilities, what might their flagship do? Fleet Marshal Vex clicked his mandibles rapidly, a sign of extreme stress among his kind. The integration of AI in their weapon systems violates every safety protocol established after the machine wars. They're playing with forces they don't understand. War Leader Zol, who had been silent until now, spoke in his deep, rumbling voice. We face a choice. Humanity is either the greatest threat the Conclave has encountered in millennia, or potentially its greatest ally. The room fell silent as they considered his words. Ally. Thrax scoffed. You can't be serious. They must be contained before they grow stronger. I agree, Vex said. My recommendation to the hierarchy will be immediate military action, a preemptive strike to destroy their shipyards and research facilities. Admiral Quill's crest flattened, a sign of disagreement. That would be disastrous. Did you not witness their defensive capabilities? A conventional attack would fail, and we would wake a sleeping giant. Perhaps diplomatic isolation, suggested Knox. We deny them access to Conclave trade routes and technology exchange. Slow their progress while we develop countermeasures. Foolish, rumbled Zol. They've achieved this without our help. Isolation will only make them more independent and unpredictable. Thrax's eyes narrowed. There must be weaknesses we haven't discovered. I suggest we extract more information. Perhaps a deeper inspection of their systems. You mean espionage? Quill said flatly. I mean survival, Thrax replied coldly. I will not return to the Emperor with news that humanity possesses technology that threatens our dominance without a plan to address it. Unknown to the aliens, every word was being carefully monitored. Deep in the Thunderchild's central processing core, the ship's AI, a consciousness far more advanced than they imagined, recorded their conversation and analyzed their emotional patterns and micro-expressions. Captain, the AI communicated directly to Harrison's neural implant. The representatives are discussing potential actions against Earth. Commander Thrax and Fleet Marshal Vex are advocating for preemptive military strikes. Admiral Quill and High Captain Knox counsel caution. War Leader Zol suggests alliance. Harrison, in his private office, received the information without surprise. Continue monitoring. Alert me if they reach consensus or if Thrax attempts to access restricted systems. Acknowledged, the AI responded. Probability of Thrax attempting infiltration, 78.3%. Back in the conference room, the debate grew heated. We need more information, Thrax insisted. I suggest we split up during the remainder of the tour. I will examine their propulsion systems more closely. That would violate diplomatic protocol, Knox objected. Protocol won't matter if humans decide to expand beyond their system, Vex countered. I support Thrax's plan. Zol stood suddenly, his massive frame towering over the others. You underestimate them. If their technology is this advanced, their security and monitoring systems will be equally sophisticated. They are likely listening to us now. The aliens froze, looking around the room with new suspicion. Impossible, Thrax whispered, but his hand unconsciously moved to his scanning device. The door slid open, revealing Captain Harrison with a neutral expression. "Representatives," he said calmly, "I hope you found your discussion productive. Shall we continue the tour?" The aliens exchanged uneasy glances, wondering just how much he knew. The tension was thick enough to cut with a laser as Captain Harrison led the 5 alien representatives through the Thunderchild's lower decks. Commander Thrax kept glancing at his portable scanner, while Fleet Marshal Vex stayed unnaturally close to the engine room access panels they passed. "Next, I thought you might appreciate seeing our quantum communications array," Harrison said casually. "It's one of our more recent innovations." As they approached a security checkpoint, Thrax suddenly broke away from the group. "Actually, Captain, I find myself curious about this corridor," he said, moving toward a restricted area marked with red warning symbols. "What systems do you house here?" Harrison's expression didn't change. "That's a secured area, Commander. It contains sensitive technology not included in today's tour." "Sensitive?" Thrax's voice carried a hint of challenge. "Surely among allies, there should be transparency." "We're not allies yet," Harrison replied calmly. "That's why you're here, isn't it? To determine if we're worthy?" Before Thrax could respond, his scanner beeped loudly. A smile spread across his face as he studied the readings. "Interesting energy signatures," he commented. "Similar to theoretical weapons the Valori have been developing. Did you perhaps acquire our research data?" Harrison stepped forward. "Your scanner won't work properly here, Commander. Our systems generate interference fields specifically designed to prevent unauthorized analysis." "A convenient excuse," Vex clicked, moving to join Thrax. High Captain Knox looked uncomfortable. "Perhaps we should continue with the authorized tour." "No," Thrax said firmly. "I insist on seeing what's behind this door. As senior representative of the Conclave, I have the authority to inspect all aspects of potential member species' military capability." Harrison sighed. "Computer, Security Protocol Omega. Authorization Harrison Theta 9. Suddenly, every light in the corridor turned blue. The aliens found themselves unable to move, held in place by an invisible force field. "What is this?" Admiral Quill demanded, her feathers flattening in alarm. "A precaution," Harrison explained, still able to move freely. "Not detention, just a pause so we can have an honest conversation." War Leader Zol growled, "Release us immediately." "In a moment," Harrison promised. He tapped his communication badge. "General Davis, would you join us in Section 12B? Our guests have questions that require your input." Davis arrived within minutes, her face stern as she assessed the situation. "I see we've reached the confrontation stage earlier than expected," she noted. Harrison nodded. Commander Thrax attempted to access restricted areas. His scanner was activating when we stopped him. "Not just scanning." Harrison's badge chirped with the ship-as voice. "The device was attempting to interface with our systems. It contained sophisticated infiltration software." Thrax's facial scales darkened, the equivalent of a human blush. "A standard diplomatic tool." "For espionage," Davis corrected. She nodded to Harrison. "Release them, Captain. Let's be civilized." The force field disappeared. The aliens cautiously tested their movement. "While you were in your private conference," Harrison said, looking directly at Thrax, "you discussed the possibility of military action against Earth. You debated whether to contain, isolate, or attack us preemptively." The aliens froze. "You were listening," Knox whispered. "Of course we were," Davis replied. "Just as you would have done in our position." "Then why continue this charade?" Vex demanded. "Why not simply detain us?" Harrison smiled slightly. "Because that's not how humanity operates. We prefer honesty." He pressed a panel on the wall, and the restricted door slid open, revealing not weapons or secret technology, but a large holographic display of the galaxy with thousands of points of light representing star systems. "This is what we wanted to show you next," Harrison explained. "A complete map of human exploration and defensive capabilities. We have outposts in 73 star systems, automated defense platforms in 216 others, and long-range sensors monitoring activities in approximately 40% of Conclave territory." The aliens stared in shock. "That's impossible," Admiral Quill whispered. "And yet, it's true," Davis said. "We've been aware of the Conclave for decades, studying you as you studied us. The difference is, we already know whether you're worthy of alliance." Harrison gestured toward the map. "We could have hidden this, pretended to be less advanced than we are. Instead, we're offering complete transparency. Now, shall we discuss what real cooperation between our civilizations might look like?" The observation lounge aboard the Thunderchild offered a breathtaking view of Earth below. Captain Harrison had chosen this location deliberately for their final meeting. The 5 alien representatives sat in uncomfortable silence, their earlier arrogance completely gone. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Harrison said, gesturing toward the blue planet. 300 years ago, that world was divided into nearly 200 separate nations, constantly at war with each other. General Davis nodded. "Humanity nearly destroyed itself several times. Nuclear weapons, climate disasters, resource wars. We came close to extinction." Commander Thrax shifted in his seat. "Yet you survived." "More than survived," Harrison corrected. "We changed, united. Not because we suddenly all agreed with each other, but because we realized something important." "And what was that?" High Captain Knox asked quietly. Harrison turned from the window to face them. "That our differences were our greatest strength. The Velori achieved technological advancement through rigid hierarchy and specialized research teams. The Syrians through their hive mind cooperation. The Drellon through careful, methodical iteration. While humans," Admiral Quill prompted. "We throw everything at the wall and see what sticks," Davis said with a slight smile. "We combine ideas that shouldn't work together. We fail constantly, learn from those failures, and try again differently. It's messy, inefficient, and incredibly effective." War Leader Zoll rumbled thoughtfully. "Your weapons technology is defensive in nature," Harrison finished. "You noticed our ships have incredible defensive capabilities, but comparatively limited offensive systems. That's by design." Fleet Marshal Vex clicked his mandibles skeptically. "No military focuses primarily on defense. A military shaped by a species that nearly destroyed itself does," Davis countered. "Our first priority is survival, not conquest." Harrison touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared showing the Thunderchild's design evolution. "Every major advancement in our technology came from collaboration between cultures that once fought each other," he explained. "Chinese metamaterial science combined with Brazilian propulsion theory. Indian AI systems integrated with Nigerian quantum computing. Technologies that seemed incompatible until someone asked, 'What if we tried them together?' The aliens studied the display with new understanding dawning in their eyes. "Your AI integration," Knox said suddenly. "It's not like the machine wars at all, is it? You don't command your computers, you partner with them." Harrison nodded. "Exactly. The Thunderchild's AI is limited in some ways, extensive in others. It doesn't control weapon systems independently, but it has significant autonomy in defense, navigation, and crew support." Thrax, who had been quiet for some time, finally spoke. "The Conclave has existed for 12,000 years. In all that time, we have operated on the principle that power determines worth. The strongest civilizations lead. The weakest follow or perish. And how has that worked out?" Davis asked gently. "We have peace," Thrax replied, but without his earlier conviction. "You have stagnation," Harrison corrected. Your civilizations haven't made significant technological advancements in centuries. You've been too busy protecting what you have instead of imagining what could be. Admiral Quill's feathers ruffled slightly. You suggest we should abandon thousands of years of tradition. Not abandon, Davis said. Evolve. Just as humanity had to evolve to survive. Harrison walked to the center of the room. Representatives, you came here to judge whether humans deserve a place in your galactic community. Instead, I propose something different. A new framework for cooperation. Not based on military strength or technological superiority, but on mutual benefit and shared growth. War leader Zol stood up, towering over the others. The Canthi have a saying, the strongest stone is not the one that breaks others, but the one that supports the most weight. He looked at his fellow representatives. Perhaps humanity is that stone. One by one, the aliens rose to their feet. We will need to consult with our governments, Frax said, but his tone had changed completely. Of course, Harrison replied. Take all the time you need. We've waited this long to join the galactic community. We can wait a little longer to do it right. As the aliens prepared to return to their shuttle, Knox approached Harrison privately. You could have conquered us, he said softly. Why didn't you? Harrison smiled. Because the stars have room enough for all of us to shine.